And welcome back to the hottest marriage show in our neighborhood. It's I, John D. and Kanika, a.k.a.
Do.
And Too Much Podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. You?
I'm doing really remarkable.
That's great to hear.
It
Remarkable.
is. You know, I just feel like things are doing what it's due, and I'm enjoying the journey every single day. I'm just looking for ways where I can learn something or help somebody, and I feel like I've got into a pretty good routine where these things are just happening. I think you know how you work on something for so long and fruits just pop out.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what's going on. I'm receiving a lot of the fruits from the work that I've been doing, and it just it reassures me that I'm doing the right thing. So just keep working on it, and then the fruits will always grow year round. So yeah, like that's why I'm like I'm driven to just work every day. Like it's you know, people's like, you need a break from what? Like, I enjoy what I'm doing. It's like I'm trying to be a better father and a husband. Should I take a break from that? Like you know, I'm good. You know, so yeah, I'm remarkable. Thank you for asking.
My boy said remarkable. That's great, though. That's great. The idea of finally being able to see your work come and bless you. It's kind of like when somebody says, you know, I go out and I bless others, and then you finally get to see the blessings come back to you. That's great.
But it's been happening every single day. Like every single day, it's something that I feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't even work for that one. And I'm like, I'm working for it every day. Like, so just where it's a little work, just working on, like, the idea of the communication thing is really great, because if you work on it every day, you're not going to immediately improve. But once you start practicing, at some point you'll see like the fruit of it when you're talking to somebody and you didn't even mean to do it. And you'd be like, oh, I'm glad I said that. And like, why did you say that? Because you put yourself in a position to be able to give that person that. So it's like, just keep working and enjoy it. So it's been great. Yeah, I know we didn't ask again, but yeah, it is. It's a wonderful feeling to know that I'm there, you know, and just imagine, like, I'll be able to do it. Like, I'm going to do it forever. And I think at some point that the kids, like, they're like, they have some really good practices already, but I think that once they figure out what they really want to do and they fall in love with it, they'll do it unconsciously every single day, and they'll just eventually get the fruits from their labor too. And I think that's one of the things that's missing in parenting or teaching, is to tell kids there's a process in order to get something, or for it to look like what you want it to look like. You have to work that hard. And if you haven't gotten there, it's because you haven't worked long enough or hard enough to get there. And people get content with whatever they get to. Just forget what they wanted to look like. It was like, you know what? I put in enough work. I'm going to just chill out. But from this experience, I realized if you just keep working on something where it's just like second nature, like it's just life, you know. So that's pretty cool.
You know, I've noticed, like when you talk about your life, you're always like, you know, you focus, you work hard enough, you get this, da 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 da. What's the most important thing to you? Oh, my family. My family's the most important thing. So last night we were talking about. We happened to talk about our grandmothers and how much we're willing to actually invest our time in those relationships and those connections when we're thinking about our immediate family at home, blah, 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 blah. And so I have somewhat of a math question for you first, not related to our grandmothers. How many times do you see your mom a year?
Oh, well, before she left, I was 15.
No, I mean it.
I know.
Right. Oh, okay.
No, I was about to try to just break it down.
Mm-hmm.
From 15 to 23, I saw her once when I graduated from college. That was the first time I had seen her since I think she left. I don't remember seeing her before any other time or why I would have seen her. Then after that, 23 to till I got to Atlanta, 0 times.
So that was, I was 28.
Yeah, and then whenever Day was born, that was, so then once a year.
After Day was born.
Yeah, and then when we went to Abu Dhabi,
that was like once in
6 years. Well, no, 4 years.
Yeah, okay.
Well, no. I guess we saw her during the summer, but since I've been back, this is the most I've ever seen her. And I've seen her. I've been back for a little over 2 years, and I've seen her like almost double figure times.
Okay.
So that's the most.
Okay. So let's say in 2023, how many times have you seen your mom?
Once, I think.
Once this year already. Okay, and we anticipate seeing her one more time this year.
Yeah. Yeah. At least.
How many years do you think your mom has left?
I've thought about that. I don't know. I don't know if she's going to die miserable or if I'm supposed to help her. The reason why I'm saying this because that's kind of determined on what her death is going to look like, because I can't believe she's still alive.
So what's the long and the short?
She could die today.
Right. Okay.
The long enough for her to say it was all worth it.
Can you give me a number?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm moving fast enough. Like if I was moving fast enough, then I think,
and when you're saying moving fast enough, meaning you're intervening in her life to help lessen her stress.
And I can't do that because I'm not in the position yet. So that's why I said if I'm moving fast, like I feel like it doesn't bother me because I know my intention and I'm doing to the best of my ability to be able to intervene. Okay. But I don't know. So it's just like one of those things where I feel like she suffered long enough, but maybe I'm supposed to give her happiness, and that's the reason why she's still around.
So I would say for the purposes of this question, let's say your mom makes it another 5 years as she's going, and you see her twice a year.
Oh yeah, I think I would. I'm in a position now where it would definitely be more than a couple of times going after this year. I think maybe 3 or 4 times at least.
3 or 4. Okay, so for the rest of your mom's life, at max, if we're doing the numbers,
15 to 20 times.
You'll see her about 15 or 20 times before she passes away.
Less than a month.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
How do you feel about that?
I think that's just what it's supposed to be. I don't have the relationship that most people have with their mothers, that, the relationship people talk about. That's the reason why I want her to move here, so that maybe we can create something that I thought I was supposed to have. But it doesn't, that's why that's one of those things where am I too cold? Like I didn't get a lot of the feelings, the emotional, vocabulary that people have to be able to talk about softness. I was real, it was, I don't know, I don't think it was an abandonment issue, but I just don't care, outside of you and the kids now. And that just happened. I just felt like, people come, people go. But I have a different investment in you guys. So 20 days, it sounds like I'm a terrible son.
Well, but I think that about a number of people, I can't remember who I was talking to, but they said they see their parent about once to twice a year. And I'm like, okay, so thinking about how long your parent may live, does that sound like the number of times you want to be able to, if I had to count down the number of times I'm going to see my mom before she's gone, is that enough for me, right? Now, true enough, my mom lives 30 minutes away. And it used to be the idea that my mom could be gone in 5 to 10 years. I believe my mom is going to live for a good amount of time, but I was just asking myself, one of my struggles that I have to accept in my adulthood is my mother's mortality, not necessarily my own yet.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I struggle with that too. Like, I'm a little off. Like, Kanika, you could be gone tomorrow. Like, just recently we went to a seminar last week on wills and trusts, and sitting there with my mom and her like whispering to me about certain things as they're talking. Well, you don't have to worry about that because of this or da 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 da. It really made me start thinking about my own mortality and how we're setting the kids up, but also hers is so much closer to me, about what I need to be prepared for and how many times do I see her, and in the end, will that be enough for me? Like, Kanika, you've only seen her these many times, and look at all the opportunities you had. I hadn't even thought the way you did it. You said 15, 20 days, I got 3 weeks left with my mom. That to me is like, okay, so your relationship with me, your relationship with your kids, you definitely have focused on it and you've pushed really hard, and it's like developed by leaps and bounds. Is there a time where you feel like, I have this machine running well, and so now I need to start focusing on this other machine that's running in the background?
What machine
Yeah,
in
my
the background?
mother.
No, I mean, I feel like I want it.
Yeah.
The only way I can get. That's why I think everybody outside of the household is a distraction, no matter who they are to me. Because if I really focused on that, it would probably bother me. But I can't do anything other than what I'm doing now. And like, I have all the intentions, and I feel like I have a great routine that's trying to be able to get closer to being able to do more. But until I can do it, like, I know that's all I can do.
Right.
Like, so it doesn't bother me, because I'll say it did bother me, once I found out that I wasted so many years away from my mother. But it was like, I was ignorant. If I beat myself up for being ignorant and nobody was able to explain it to me, then I can't even get to the point where I want to help her now.
Right.
So yeah, I'm good. Like, if my mother dies, I don't think that's a part of my story yet. I know she's gonna die, but I feel like with the information I have and the way that we've been moving, I feel like at some point we'll be able to help her in a way that when she does leave, she can be like, okay, it was worth it. Like, I don't want her to go and like, I can't believe I lived this life for this long and I feel like this. That's got to be a dark place. And I'm praying that God hears me and knows what I'm trying to do, that he will put us in a position where, I'm not saying like change her life overnight, but change her life overnight.
Yes. Yeah. I was talking to my cousin, my younger cousin, and she was like, I think my mom probably has like 20 years. I said, how many times do you see her? She said, maybe once a year. She said, so I have like 20 more times to see my mom in life. She was like, that sounds horrible when you put the number to it. And so I was only asking you because I know that we don't see your mom as much as we should.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about the number, I did the math of how many times I would see her again. I think that, when you get into this part of our life, like, I think about how I feel about my grandparents. And we laugh because your mom, when she hugs us, she's not like where you melt into her. But she gives the strongest daggum one arm hug in the world, right? And they in Dallas see my mom not as much as they should, but they do. But they really don't get as much time with your mom as I think they should. And she has a whole different life to share with them.
Yeah.
And in addition to the language part, there's also that time part where it's not like, oh yeah, granny, da 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 da. Like they don't just rattle off about her. And I feel like as much as I don't care for my relationship with my paternal grandmother, I don't want them to have that because she's not that kind of grandmother.
Yeah.
And so, not to focus so much on your mom, but I know that even I feel like I'm missing parts to not see her. But even to make other people think, like, do the math for your own parent, or, you know, for the parents that kind of slipped away and don't really engage with their kids, think about the math and perspective of you and how many times you may have left to see your kid. Because it may be 1, it may be 0, like you said. But, you know, even when you said, well, if I'm thinking about it in numbers, I got 3 weeks left with her. That to me feels crazy.
You know, just keeping it as honest as possible. So my mother, the number of hours I've had with my mother, even when she worked literally 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And she worked 10 to 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like, that was her whole time that I remember us living in Louisville. Like, she worked at a theater, a movie theater, and then she went to a Chinese restaurant. And when that happened, like, I don't even know how many days really I've spent with my mother.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just thinking, like, since I've been back, outside of me going out of town, I'm here like majority of the day. Mm-hmm. You know, and I was just thinking, like, that counts, being home with your family. And like, my mother was gone, and it's like, she had a hard life, and it was long in comparison to the amount of times that she probably felt like she shouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. And like, to get here, to think about it, I don't even know, like, I feel like I should be like fluent in Korean where I could tell her it's okay. Mm-hmm. You know, I think if she really knew it was okay, she would die.
Okay, well, give us a little bit more time before you say that for Dave.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I don't think I have the words.
Right.
But she don't believe me anyway, because my sister's going to have to make her feel like it was okay.
Yeah.
So if she doesn't, then she's like,
she's still pushing on.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So hopefully at some point we can give her some peace. Mm-hmm. Both of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's crazy. Like, we're just talking, right? And I'm not going to lie, I don't think you'll live longer than me. But looking at what we just talked about was just mothers, because all the men are dead. You know, and I was thinking, like, wow. You know, because some people was like, why they ain't talking about the fathers? They are all dead.
They're gone.
They are. Like, and I don't know, I can't say I know what it's from. I know my father died to, I think, give me another try. Give me a shot, a fair shot, because he knew that I was clueless. And he didn't know. But he did. He gave me a shot. I don't think I'm going to die before Kanika, because that is my goal, is to live to 160. She doesn't care about it as much. But I'll say this. If she doesn't get on board, I know I can't live to 160, because I only want to live with her. And if she decides to depart, she's messed up my plan. So I just want you to know, universe, we got to get her on board. If not, I just, and I know, like, it's easy for me to like say it for her, but I do believe that I mean, I love the kids, but they're not going to live with me day to day. Yeah. And I enjoy other people's company, but I don't want to be around people more than I have to. Yeah. Like,
that daggone peopling, man.
No, that's not peopling. I'm saying, like, if you were gone, I would have to people, or I would like go into a dark place, like, because there's nothing to do. Like, I got to figure something out, and I'd prefer not to live that life, because it seems like too much energy.
Yeah.
My body's gonna be older. I'm not gonna want to move around, so I would prefer you to just stick around a lot longer than you anticipated.
Oh.
Because I'm telling you, I already know, like when people say people die when their spouses die, I understand.
Yeah.
And, so that's where I am with that.
All right. When I'm thinking about when you said, where are the men? I remember when I knew my dad was going to pass away the last time I saw him. He passed away like maybe 6 months later. But the number of times, like I came home when we lived in Atlanta, we lived in Abu Dhabi. When I came home, I was with my mom 85% of the time. And I used to say to myself, I need to get over to see my dad. And I would see him 1 to 2 times. I might be home for weeks in Michigan. And I would prioritize 1 to 2 times to go visit him for a few hours.
Do you think that what you saying, like, do you think that we're practicing, like are the kids going to come see us? Are they going to think that it's important? Because I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the point of this conversation if we can't prevent them getting to a certain age thinking like, I got to maximize this time with our family, our parents?
Well, with him, my dad was present physically, but otherwise, like when I was growing up, he lived with us. He came home each night. He interacted with us maybe about 30 minutes before he went to work, but it was all my mom.
No, I get it, but I'm saying, like, are the kids going to come see us? Like,
I think so.
Our relationship, okay.
I feel like the relationship with my dad, the reason why I even say, like, I should have seen him more is because he was sick. And I should have, regardless of it. And I let my lack of, or my closeness, or whatever the level of relationship we had, I let that tell me, well, this is enough. It's all right. Like, I'm going to see him a couple times. I would go to check to make sure that mentally he was in a place where I could bring the kids around. And then the second time I came, I would bring the kids around, and then I was done. And I think that now I sit here and I think about how he was sick and he was trapped in his mind. And I felt like that those 2 days were enough. And now, like when my brother called me to say I needed to come home, I had wished for more, even if I'd sat in the room with him. Because when I used to go over there to just make sure that he was okay for me to bring the kids, he didn't even have to talk to me. He would just sit in the room with me, and he would smile at me every so often and do his thing, and then he would, talk a little bit, but it was just the presence of somebody being there.
Do you remember any real conversations with him?
No. When he could speak, no. I don't remember. I remember one time he had met my high school boyfriend, and he told me no and no. And he could still speak then, and he was explaining to me how he could see a lot of what this person was going to be, and he did not want that for me. That was the first time I felt like my dad talked to me, number one, like on a real, let me give you a lesson type thing. And it was probably the last time he was able to ever speak words to me in order to tell me what he was thinking and feeling.
You know what? I want you to think about this. And it just made me cry on the inside. Your father didn't say no and no to me.
He didn't.
He said that I was just like him.
Yes.
So think about that. Like, just imagine if he saw me where I am today.
Oh, he'd be proud now.
No, I'm saying, what if he saw that? He was like, he didn't say no and no.
Oh, you're saying, did he see ahead of time? Like,
I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying? Because he said he's just like me. Now, we could say what just like me look like.
We could say.
No, but
like, I can get with this dude.
But I'm saying, like, if he's saying he's just like me, we can't be the negative aspect because he didn't say no and no.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, like he just didn't get there. He couldn't get there. He didn't know how to get there. Because I'm telling you, when I asked my uncle, I was like, what was the biggest thing about my father? He said he couldn't get over the hump. He was like, he didn't know how to get to the next level. And I didn't know what that meant. Well, I didn't know what that meant when he said that to me. To me, I was like, I can get to any level. And I didn't realize what he meant until I didn't know how to get to the next level. And of course, I could have helped my father, but I had no idea that's where he was in his mind. And like when you was like, you wanted more. I didn't think. I was like, I wish I could have had one conversation with him, but it wasn't like, I wanted him back because he was suffering, and you know what I'm saying. I feel like, I didn't want him to go through that. And the conversation, the reason why I said I wanted one conversation, because I don't remember us having a real conversation. And he didn't have a speech problem. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it was like it was either women or sports. So,
well, yeah, my dad didn't. Yeah, that was the only time I remember him ever giving me, like, offering me direction, and it was just in that situation.
Looking back, was he right?
I mean, yeah, I don't really know the extent of that person and where, as in the person I was dating. I don't know the extent of his life and what it's like at this point. But I know that there were key parts that I never told him about, that when he said no. I think that my dad, having had the life he did, I don't know if he saw the abuse already, but he had already told me that wasn't where I was supposed to be. So in that sense, I know I wasn't supposed to be with that person. So we gonna say, 1 point to Harry for that one. But I wish there was more I wish he was more of a present parent where he could have given me his lessons, because in some of the conversations I've had with my aunt, with my grandmother, and with my aunts and uncles about my dad, nobody knew what was going on in his head. He was like 40 different people. He was a different person for my aunt than he was for my grandmother. He was a different person for his sisters than he was for his brother. And his friends versus his ex-wife, my mom. Like, my dad was a lot of different things. And at no point in time was he able to tell me who he was. Everybody else had to tell me later on. And I wish that I could be able to say my dad was this kind of person or that kind of person, and I really can't tell you who he was. So, and then when you hear everybody else's story, there's so many conflicting parts. And I know that people are complex and they can be many different things. But I really wish I would have known who he was to himself. How did he see himself? I think the only time I've ever known my dad to, like, my dad didn't know he was smart. I know that. When I was younger, I remember he was going for his high school diploma, and he couldn't read well. And I was like maybe 9 or 10, and he was asking me to read certain things to him, and he was telling me he was stupid. And I was like, no, you're not. Like, regardless of how he and my mom used to be, my mom would tell me that my dad was one of the smartest people. And he didn't see that in himself. So that was at 9. My dad died when I was 37. It would have been nice for me to have heard what he thinks of himself and who he was. I never got that. But I think that with our kids, our relationship is different, where
they have different idea already about who we are, because we talk that way.
Yeah, and I think also when they get older, the idea of coming to see us or be around us, that's a given. I don't think that it's going to be a question of, well, my relationship with this parent was, this. And so I don't really talk to them like that, or I don't really see them like that. I don't think that that's something that's a difference in our kids and our family story now that won't be a part of the story. That wasn't a part of our story that will be for them, the closeness to both parents.
No doubt. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out, because I just feel like, our relationship, looks so different from the relationships we grew up under.
Yeah.
And I really feel like, I know the kids are gonna mess up, but I feel like they're gonna have a better understanding of who we are and not have these questions of like, who are my parents? Even if they did, they gotta have all of this video. This recordings of how we were thinking.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be dope to have. But I appreciate you sharing those things. Anybody you want to give a shout out before we get out of here?
I want to give a shout out to Birdie and Changye, because those women, they're that, we're a multi-generational family, and we need to start recognizing that generation more. I really feel like there's a lot left there that's still buried that we should be unearthing and connecting Day in Dallas to. So I want to give a shout out to them because they're still here.
Also give a shout out to the women who outlived these men. Yeah. Not saying that all of the men that died early was living reckless, but the women apparently understand something about living. And I don't want to discredit the men for not knowing enough, but I'm glad you guys knew enough to keep it going. Because it, like we talked about before, like it has to be tough raising kids by yourself, but it has to be tough having kids as the only parent for guidance, and not having that help, and yeah, it's just shout out to you guys for continuously finding different ways to help your kids be successful. Y'all make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. GATA, get after that action, or that action will get after you. Be great on purpose. Boom.